The human eye is one of the most valuable and sensitive organs in our body. It enables us to see the wonderful world and colors around us. So let us see what are the different parts of the human eye. This is a diagram of the human eye. Since the human eye is very sensitive, it needs protection. So there are three protective coverings for the eye. The outer protective covering of the eye is called as the sclera. The middle protective covering is called as a choroid, and the innermost protective covering is a very sensitive covering which is called as a retina. The outermost bulging part of the eye is called as a cornea. It is thin and transparent. Just behind the cornea there is a small opening which is called as a pupil. The pupil is followed by a biconvex lens. There is a fleshy diaphragm. This fleshy screen or this fleshy diaphragm is called as the iris. This fleshy screen is called as the iris. The lens is held in position with the help of ciliary muscles, and between the ciliary muscles and the eye lens there are suspensory ligaments. The region between the cornea and the eye lens is filled with a fluid which is called as the aqueous humor. It is a watery fluid, whereas there is another gel-like fluid which is present between the eye lens and the retina which is called as a vitreous humor. There is a blind spot on the retina. It is at this place that a very clear and a distinct image of the object will be formed. These are the optic nerves which are connected to the brain. The electric signals from the retina will be carried by the optic nerves to the brain, where the brain interprets the message and sends the message back to the eye to observe the object as it is in the surroundings. The human eye is roughly spherical in shape. The diameter of the human eye is about 2.4 centimeters. So let's see the first part of the eye. The first part of the eye is cornea. The cornea forms a transparent bulge. This is the bulge that is formed, and it is a transparent bulge. It's transparent. That is, it allows the light rays to pass through it very easily. So the transparent bulge which is formed on the front surface of the eyeball, it is called as a cornea. It is through the cornea that light rays enter into the eye. Okay, so maximum amount of the incident light will get refracted inside the eye at the outer surface of the cornea, meaning maximum amount of light undergoes refraction when the light passes through the cornea. The dark fleshy screen, this red colored part, this dark fleshy screen which is present just behind the cornea is called as the iris. Now this iris is the colored part of the eye, and this colored part of the eye varies in color from person to person. For example, you can see this colored part of the eye is called as the iris, and this color varies from person to person. For example, some people will have black colored iris, some may have blue colored iris, some may have brown colored iris, some may have grey color, some may have green colored iris, and so on. So the color of iris is different for different people. Now this color difference is determined by a pigment called as melanin, which is present in the iris, and it is this pigment called as melanin which gives a distinct color to the eye or to the iris. So these are the eyes. This center portion which is spherical, or this spherical bulge, is called as the pupil, and these muscles which are surrounding the pupil, this is the iris. The blue colored structure is called as the iris. Now this iris is made up of very tiny muscles, and these muscles which make up the iris are the radial muscles and the circular muscles. Now, which are the circular muscles? Now, if you look at the diagram here, this is the pupil and the circular muscles. These are the circular muscles, and these lines, these represent the radial muscles. See, you can see the radial muscles very clearly. These are the radial muscles. Okay, these are the radial muscles, and surrounding the pupil there are circular muscles. Now the iris carries out a very, very important function, because the iris controls the size of the pupil and thereby regulates the amount of light that enters the eye. Whenever we go into any area which is very dim, what we do is that we always expand our eyes. We always try to widen up our eyes. And why do we do that? So that maximum amount of light ray should enter our eyes whenever we go into any dim place. Now, whenever we go to such dim areas, what happens is that the muscles of the iris, which muscles of the iris? The radial muscles, these lines, these radial muscles of the iris, they contract. What is contraction and relaxation? Contraction, relaxation, contraction, relaxation. So these radial muscles, देखो यहाँ पे narrow हो गए ये radial muscles. The radial muscles contract, whereas the circular muscles relax. And when this happens, the size of the pupil increases, and so in dim light, more amount of light can enter into the eye in order to view the object clearly. When we go in bright light, what we do is that we always narrow our eyes. We never look at bright objects with our eyes wide open. We always narrow our eyes. हम लोग आंखें छोटी करते हैं. And when we do that, what does the iris do? In that case, you find that the circular muscles of the eye contract. And see what happens to the radial muscles. The radial muscles relax. And when this happens, the size of the pupil decreases. And when the size of the pupil decreases, little amount of light enters into the eye. And why should this happen? Because in bright light, if maximum amount of light enters the eye through the cornea and then through the pupil, the bright light can damage the retina and can cause blindness, maybe temporary, or that is partial or permanent. So what is the iris doing? The iris controls the size of the pupil and thereby regulates the amount of light that enters into the eye. Whenever we go in dim light, then the muscles of the iris, that is the radial muscles of the iris, contract, whereas the circular muscles relax. Whereas when we go in bright light, the circular muscles of the iris contract and the radial muscles relax. In dim light, the pupil dilates. Dilates matlab it increases in size to allow more amount of light to enter into the eye. In bright light, the pupil of the eye will reduce in size so that very little amount of light enters into the eye. So, the iris helps in controlling the size of the pupil and thereby regulating the amount of light entering into the eye. There is a small circular opening in between the iris and just behind the cornea. This circular opening in between the iris and behind the cornea is called as the pupil. This pupil is a small circular opening and it is of variable diameter. That is, this opening can become small or it can increase in size. And we have already seen this in the previous slide when we were studying about the iris. When the light is very bright, what happens to the pupil? The size of the pupil decreases. And when the light is dim, then the size of the pupil increases or the pupil dilates so that maximum amount of light enters into the eye. So the pupil will contract in presence of bright light and it will dilate in presence of dim light, thereby changing the amount of light that enters into the eye. Yeah, I think I have already explained this particular slide in iris, that The iris controls the size of the pupil. So once again, when the light is dim, what happens to the radial muscles? The radial muscles contract and the circular muscles relax. So maximum amount of light will enter into the eye. So in that case, you can see the pupil dilating or expanding in size or increasing in size. In bright light, the circular muscles contract, the radial muscles relax, the size of the pupil becomes small, or the pupil undergoes contraction to allow minimum amount of light to enter into the eye. So the pupil can dilate or it can contract, thereby regulating the amount of light entering into the eye. Just behind the small opening pupil, there is a biconvex lens. This biconvex lens is crystalline, that is very clear, and it is biconvex, that is it is bulging from both the sides. It is located just behind the pupil. Now this lens is very important because the size of the lens can vary, and depending upon the size of the lens, the focal length of the eye lens varies. The focal length, that is the distance that will be formed from the eye lens to the retina. So this focal length will vary. When the lens will become thin, the focal length will increase. When the lens will become fat, the focal length of the eye lens will decrease. So the lens provides a fine adjustment of focal length so that the image formed on the retina will be a real and an inverted image. The image is real and it is always an inverted image that is formed on the retina. Now the lens has got two focal points. Whenever the eye is in the relaxed position, then the first focal length of the eye lens is at a distance of about 2.27 centimeters. And the second focal point of the eye lens, whenever the eye is in a relaxed position, the second focal point lies on the retina. So the lens is crystalline, that is clear. It is biconvex, that is it is bulging from both the sides, and it lies just behind the pupil. The size of the lens can vary. It can become thin, it can become fat, and accordingly the focal length of the eye lens will change. The lens always helps in forming a real and an inverted image of the object on the retina. The eye lens has got two focal points. The first focal point is at a distance of 2.27 centimeters and the second focal point is at a distance of 2.5 centimeters, which lies on the retina. The innermost part of the eye is very delicate and very sensitive. This part of the eye is called as a retina. It is on the retina that a real and inverted image of the object is formed. So now if we look at the retina, this is how a retina looks like. The retina is made up of many light sensitive cells. These are the rod shaped cells and these are the cone shaped cells. Now whenever light falls on these light sensitive cells, these light sensitive cells generate electric signals, and these electric signals are carried by the optic nerves to the brain. The brain interprets the signal, it processes the signals, or it processes the information, and the brain makes the image appear the correct way up so that we can actually see the object as it is in the surroundings. There are muscles on the either side of the eye lens. These muscles hold the lens in position, and the name of these muscles is ciliary muscles. Now the shape of the eye lens can change due to the contraction and relaxation of the ciliary muscles, and when the shape of the lens changes, the focal length of the lens also changes. So the ciliary muscles hold the lens in position. The ciliary muscle helps in changing the shape of the lens, and thereby the focal length of the lens also changes. Whenever we have to see any distant object, then we find that the lens becomes thin, and for the lens to become thin, the ciliary muscle fibers should relax. So see this pink colored structure which holds the lens. This is the lens that you can see in the center. So the lens is surrounded, because the lens is held by the ciliary muscles, and in between the lens and the ciliary muscles lie the suspensory ligaments. So whenever we have to see any distinct object, the ciliary muscle fibers will relax. The suspensory muscles or the suspensory ligaments become taut or tight, and the lens becomes thin. And when this happens, the image of the distant object or far away object is formed on the retina. So we can see the distant objects very clearly. But when we have to see any object which is closer to the eye, then the ciliary muscles fibers should contract, and the suspensory ligaments relax. And when this happens, see, look at the lens becomes thick or the lens becomes fat. So what happens is the focal length between the eye lens and the retina decreases, and we get to see a sharp image of the nearby object exactly on the retina. So this is how we can see the nearby objects and the far off objects clearly. Once again, whenever we have to see any distant object, then the ciliary muscle fibers relax, and the suspensory ligaments become taut, the lens becomes thin, so image of the distant object is formed exactly on the retina. When we have to see any nearby object, the suspensory muscle fibers will contract, the sensory ligament will relax, and the lens becomes thick, so image of the nearby object is formed on the retina. So the eye lens has the ability to adjust the focal length. Whenever the lens becomes thin, the focal length becomes more, that is the distance between the eye lens and the retina increases. Whenever the lens becomes fat, the distance between the eye lens and the retina decreases, so focal length decreases. So what is happening here? The eye lens has the ability to adjust the focal length, and this ability of the eye lens to adjust its focal length is called as power of accommodation of the eye. And the eye has the ability to focus at different distances, that is we can see the nearby objects as well as the far off objects, and this process of focusing the eye at different distances is called as accommodation. So power of accommodation is ability of the eye lens to adjust its focal length. Accommodation means the process of focusing the eye at different distances. So as I said, the ability of eye lens to change its focal length as per the need is called as power of accommodation. But the focal length of the eye lens cannot be decreased beyond a certain limit. That is, the eye lens cannot become thin beyond a certain limit. So for example, say if we want to read a book or a newspaper, by holding it very close to our eyes, then what happens is the image appears blurred and we also experience a strain in the eye. So if we want to see any object comfortably and distinctly, we have to hold the object at a distance of about 25 centimeters from the eyes. And this minimum distance of the object from a normal eye at which we can see the object without any stress on the eye is called as minimum distance of distinct vision. It is also called as near point of the eye. So the minimum distance of distinct vision is 25 centimeters for a normal eye. What is the meaning here? If we have to see any object clearly without any strain on the eye, then the object should be held at a minimum distance of 25 centimeters from the eye. And this distance is called as the minimum distance of distinct vision. So here you can see the definition of least distance of distinct vision or minimum distance of distinct vision. What is the definition? The minimum distance from the normal eye at which objects can be seen clearly and distinctly without putting any strain on the eye is known as minimum distance of distinct vision. There is a mistake there. Distance of distinct vision, minimum distance of distinct vision, which is about 25 centimeters for a normal eye. Similarly, we also have a farthest point where an object can be kept from the human eye. And this farthest distance at which an object is kept from the human eye, so that we can see the object clearly without putting any strain on the eye, is called as the farthest distance of distinct vision. The position of the object at this distance is called as the far point of the eye. And what should be the farthest distance of distinct vision? For that, the object could be at infinity. It could be at any distance. The object could be at any distance from the normal eye, at a very far away point where we can see the object very clearly and distinctly without putting any strain on the eye. So for a normal eye, the farthest distance of distinct vision is infinity.